In this exercise, we'll be creating a scrolling background. I've got a finished one here right now and I'll just demonstrate it to you. I'll just go into my scenes here and open that up and we'll hit a preview. And what I have here is just a simple background with some clouds painted on a blue backdrop. And it's an image that was created in Photoshop and then brought into GameSolid. And as you can see, it's seamless and it just seems to go on forever here. So let's create a new one here from scratch. I'll just go back here and we'll start a new file. And I guess I'll just call this scrolling background. And I'll actually save my file as well. I'll do a save as. And I do have a folder for my exercises. Scrolling background. There we go. And we'll save that. And I'll just resize this to fill the screen. And we'll get started. Now the first thing I need to do is bring in that graphic that I'll use as my scrolling background. And I'll do that by going into scenes. I'll double click initial scene here. And we'll just go down to the library, images, click the add button. And I do have a folder with some graphics. I'll use the one called backgroundsky.png and click open. And as a shortcut, I can actually directly drag that into the actors bay and generate an actor for it, which will host that image. Now let's just go over to scene for a second. I want to point something out. We are on the iPhone landscape size, and the width of that is 568 pixels by 320 pixels. We need to know this information because we're going to be working with positions and so on. Let's just go back here to game, and I need to set this to be the same size as the stage. It was proportional, it's double the size, but let's just go into it by double clicking it, and size, under width, I'll change that to 568, hit my tab key, by 320 and hit my tab key. So now it's matching the size of the stage. And at this point I'm going to drag it onto the stage and try to center it as close as possible. But I will go in here, I'm going to double click and go in and make it specific by typing in the numbers, but I'll get it very close. Now the registration point is that center dot at the middle of the actor. So let me double click this and we'll go over to the position. I'll open that up. And again, remember these numbers, 250 or 568 is the width. The position, remember, is halfway in because it's the center, so we need to divide that 568 by 2. Which I believe is 284, and half of 320 is 160. Remember, because the registration is in the middle of the asset, in the middle of the actor, it's halfway from the edge to the middle, so you divide that number by 2 for positions. Now if I go back here, it is exactly tight to the edges and perfectly centered. So I'm just going to save that file and we can move on from here. Now we want to have it scrolling, in this case from right to left. So I'll go in and I'll add a behavior. Let me go to behaviors down here. Actually, I will double click on here. I'll click on edit prototype, which edits the original actor. And we'll click on behaviors down here. And the behavior I want to add to start with is the move behavior. So I drag it up in here, and I want it to move from right to left, so I'm just going to change that direction. And I could go in here and type it in. In this case it's probably better because I want it to be 180 exactly. I'll leave the speed at 300 for now, relative to scene. We'll just take a quick look. I can predict what's going to happen. It's just going to run off the side of the page. We'll click preview, check that out. And there it goes. Okay, so it's started. Now the idea here is for a scrolling background, we want it to be repeating and seamless and looped forever. So we have to figure out a way to create a new iteration of that background to follow right behind the first one as it starts moving off the screen. So we're going to create a rule to deal with that. I'll click on create rule. And it's going to be based on some attributes. And in fact, we need to create a new attribute to record when we've spawned a new actor, because this is the method we're going to use. When the first graphic reaches a specific point on the x-axis, we will spawn a new actor beside it that will also be moving. So we need to create a new attribute called spawned. It will be Boolean because it's going to record true or false. So we check Boolean, hit choose. You can see new attribute here. I'll double click on that. I'll give it a name. I'll call it spawned. That's what it's recording, whether an actor has been spawned or not. Because it is currently unchecked, the state of that attribute is false. Okay, so now that we've created something to record that with, let's go into actor attributes, and we'll actually call up background, spawned, and if spawned is false, which it currently is, we would want to generate a new background. But there's another condition I want to add, which is the position. So based on two conditions. The second condition I'll add here. Click the add button. Again, attribute. This time we're going to go for the position on the x-axis. So we click position, double click x. If the center point of my actor is less than or equal to, and I'm going to use the width of the actor as the measurement, background, size, width. Now remember, the registration point is in the center, and that's halfway in. So if the width is based on the size divided by 2, spawn a new actor. So we've got the two conditions. If spawned is set to false, and if the x position is more than halfway past the center point, then we will spawn a new actor. And let's go down here to behaviors. Choose spawn actor and drag that in there. The actor is called background sky. And again, the position will be actually the width of the actor. So let's just go in here, background sky, size, width. Check. Now I will give you a heads up with Game Salad, when we're spawning actors, sometimes it can lag a little bit, so we may have to fine tune this width positioning based on width, give or take a couple of pixels. But let's take a look right now under preview and see what happens here. So there you go. As I was predicting, at a certain point, for some reason, this little gap in between the first and the second spawned image is there. So let's just go back here, and we can tweak this fairly easily. Let's just go back into the position for the spawned actor, and we'll just subtract 5 pixels. We'll click check mark. Now that's sort of a trial and error. I know from trying this out that 5 works. So let's just try this out and hit preview. And there you have it. It is now seamless. And it's running forever. Now there's an issue with memory and so on that we need to deal with. It has nothing to do with the visual here, but what's happening right now is the actor's running off the left-hand side, and they're basically piling up. And it's consuming more and more memory as they pile up. So to keep things clean, we're actually going to determine if the actor has reached a certain position on the x-axis, and in this case to the left, by a full length, it will self-destruct. So let's create a new rule to do that. And this has to do with memory management. After a while, this could ultimately crash your computer if you were to let it run. It would take a while, but it could wear it down quite a bit. So let's go based on attribute, background, sky, position, x. If it's lower than or equal to the width, so we'll go in here, background sky, and we'll use the size width as our measurement. Actually, let me go back in here. Divided by 2, of course, because the registration point's in the center, which is halfway into it. Then it will self-destruct. So let's just go up here, and there is a behavior called destroy. Drag that down there. So if the actor is completely off the screen, self-destruct, destroy this actor. Let's just take a quick look and see here. Oh, and it looks like I made a mistake with my less than. Let's try greater than. Oh, I know what I did. Let me go back in here. Because it's to the left, the numbers are in the negative. So let's just go back here. If I can get my cursor to go in there and hit a negative. My bad. So this is why we test often. We'll try that with the minus again, which signifies to the left of center. And we'll give that one more try with feeling. Preview. There we go. Now the only thing that bugs me about this now is the speed, but that's an aesthetic. But as you can see, it's seamless, it's looping, and behind the scenes we are doing a good job of managing our memory by destroying those piled up actors at the end of the conveyor belt, if you will, on the left hand side. So let me just go back here, and just for the sake of beauty, we'll change that to 100, and it's a little more realistic. Anyhow, that is how we spawn a new actor to create a seamlessly looping background image. And I'd like you to create one of those now.